All right, so I know a lot of people have been asking me about my revert story. This is my personal belief, so I really want to keep that to myself. However, I'll give you guys just a little rundown of how I came to Islam. So I want to say around 8 or 9 years old, that was when I really started to actually get into church, right? Because I grew up a Christian. I was in church heavy from 9 years old, literally from 9 years old. I'm not exaggerating. From 9 all the way to 20. Right, I'm talking about going to church every Sunday, going to Bible studies Tuesdays and Thursdays, just really seeking the word, right? And I want to say I started to think critically about religion once I got into college. And towards my sophomore year of college, that was when I really started to think, why am I following what I follow? There were some inconsistencies in my opinion that I did not agree with. And, this is my personal belief, my personal opinion. So, I ended up stepping away, and it was hard. I had so many nights where I would just wake up in the morning, panic attacks and stuff, because I'm like, man, I believe in God, but I just don't know what to follow. Right. And, I started to look into other religions. I really looked into Nation of Islam, right? Because in Southern California, there were a lot of Nation of Islam around us. And, I was listening to people like Nuri Muhammad, Khalfani Muhammad, Farrakhan, Elijah Muhammad, Malcolm X, right? So I was listening to all of them and their speeches and everything. And, I thought that was the route at first. And then, I looked into that a little bit more. There was some stuff that didn't align with me with that, core things that I didn't believe in. And then I was just like, man, what am I about to follow? And then after all of that happened, right, I didn't align with everything with Nation of Islam. I posted a tweet asking if anybody can get me a Quran, right? Because I'm in Tallahassee, Florida. There is no masjid by me. There was no Qurans anywhere, so I'm like, where am I going to find one? And I had so many people calling me, texting me, DMing me, telling me seek Jesus, do this, do that, and this isn't the right way to go, X, Y, and Z. So me personally, I'm like, okay, why do people not want to follow this, right? So I ended up, looking into that more. I ended up actually just buying a Quran on Amazon, and I read it a little bit, but then I was like, oh man, I don't know if this is what I should be following. So, I stepped away from it a little bit, and then I ended up transferring. So my new school that I transferred to, it was so crazy because my position coach was Muslim, my roommate was Muslim, and then I had 2 other teammates on the team that were Muslim as well. So I was around a lot of Muslims, and it was cool because I was like, maybe this is a sign. So I just remember, man, my dog Dion, man, he helped me out a lot. He was basically telling me everything about the 5 pillars, the 6 articles of faith, basically showing me how to pray. He was just putting me on with everything. And then I remember he was like, man, let's go to the masjid, and we're gonna speak to an imam. So we went to the masjid. I spoke to the imam. I want to say we got there at 12. We left at 5 or 6 p.m. And I told him at the end of our conversation, I was like, look, I don't know everything, but I know enough to know that this is what I want to follow. So, he told me that, I'm going to take my Shahada when we do Jummah prayer on Friday. And after that, I've been Muslim ever since. Now, the whole journey itself was just crazy though, because a little bit of backstory too. I had an uncle. I never met him, but he was getting closer to his deen, and he was starting to follow Islam and stuff before me and my brother were even born. And it's crazy because my brother has an Islamic name, and then my middle name is an Islamic name, and my first name is a Hebrew name, but it's all of our names had meanings, right? So I feel like I've somewhat always been around Islam, and I know as Muslims, we believe that everybody is born with the natural inclination to believe in God, right? In the oneness of God. And I think it's called the fitra, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, I feel like I was always around it, and it's just crazy. Alhamdulillah though, I'm happy I'm Muslim, I think that it's definitely one of the best decisions that I have made. And I think that it definitely helps me stay focused, stay guided through everything that I do. Like I don't actively go out of my way to tell people I'm Muslim. If they see me doing certain things, or if they see like, I don't eat a certain food, then, they'll ask me, then I'll tell them, but I just think it's, it's a personal thing, it's a personal thing. But nonetheless, that's my story. One thing that I feel like a lot of people struggle with, and I struggle with myself sometimes, is being consistent. Now, one thing that does help me stay consistent, and it ties back into Islam, is the 5 daily prayers. You praying 5 times a day, the remembrance of Allah, and constantly doing those things to make sure that you're good. I think that it definitely allows you to separate yourself from a lot of other people. And one thing that is tough for everybody is to stay consistent. Praying 5 times a day kind of adds that discipline in, and it instills it inside of you so that you're already good for the day. All right, so one of the questions that I was constantly being asked was, how do I stay so calm? And how am I able to deal with all of the different situations that I have to deal with in life? And one of the things that I always think about are the 6 articles of faith, right? And the last one being the divine decree of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And with that divine decree, to me, it's basically saying that Allah is the best of planners. So no matter what I do, no matter what situation I'm in, I know that Allah has willed it for me. And however this outcome is going to be, it's by the will of Allah. So that doubt and that uncertainty that I normally have, it goes away. And I'm not saying that it happens all the time, but it happens more often than not, right? And it also correlated with me praying more. Like the more I prayed, right, it's a small act of worship. We're acting like sometimes when we're praying, it's like a 30-minute prayer every single time. No, you're taking like 2 to 3 minutes out of your day to remember Allah. And when you do that, you build that rapport, you build that confidence, and you build that reliability to lean upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when you have doubt, when you have uncertainty, when you have all of these different types of hardships, right? And for me, it just helped with my calmness, right? My serenity, my peace, right? So no matter what I do, I know that Allah is the best of planners. So hopefully y'all can do the same thing and stop worrying and stop stressing about everything, because at the end of the day, it's going to happen. Whatever Allah has willed is going to happen, and you cannot change the outcome of it. All you have to think about is, okay, how am I going to learn from this lesson, right? Whether it's a good lesson, whether it's a bad lesson, whether it's a lesson that you didn't want to learn, right? That's just something that you are just going to have to figure out.